community that was suffering from a long drought. Without the much-needed rain, the whole community will lose their entire crop for the year, and many families would starve. So the priest decided to hold an outdoor prayer meeting in the church parking lot on a Saturday afternoon to pray for rain. He asked everyone to bring something that represented their faith in God. Everyone from the town showed up for that prayer meeting. Some brought their Bible, some brought rosaries, others brought their crucifix, and a few people brought statues of our Blessed Mother. And then there was a young girl who brought an umbrella. All eyes were on her. And the priest walked over to her and asked her, "Why didn't you bring something religious?" She replied, "After the prayer, when God sends down the rain, I didn't want to get wet." Out of all the people, who do you think really had faith? The question is, who among us really has that kind of faith? From Monday's first reading, we saw how quickly humanity's sin multiplied and escalated. Adam and Eve sinned by disobeying God. And in just a matter of one generation, Cain kills his own brother Abel out of jealousy. And as we read in yesterday's first reading, sin and wickedness spread across entire humanity, becoming worse and worse. So great were their sins that God finally unleashed His wrath and punishment on all of humanity, except for one family. God picked Noah and commanded him to build an ark, as he and his family were the only people who had faith and were righteous on the face of the earth. Noah obeyed and began building the ark while the sun was still shining. According to the numbers presented in the Bible, it took Noah almost 100 years to build the ark. No one saw the flood, and the great flood, no one foresaw the flood. And when the great flood did finally happen, the rest of the people were completely unprepared for it. 40 days and 40 nights of heavy rain flooded everything, and all the wicked people who didn't prepare for the flood died. After the rain stopped, Noah patiently waited and sent a raven and then a dove to see if the water had completely subsided. And once it was safe, he released all the animals to repopulate. The first thing he did when he touched the dry ground was to build an altar and offer a burnt offering to the Lord. Out of all the things he could have done, the first thing that he wanted to do was to give thanks and praise to God. Noah was truly a man of faith. As you can see, Noah put God first. Because he put God first, he put his own life on hold and did what God asked him to do. He thanked God before he celebrated with his family or did anything else. When God gives you a difficult task or makes a high-stakes demand, are you willing to listen? And when God blesses you, is giving thanks to God the first thing you do? Disobedience was the reason Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden. To reverse the curse of Adam and Eve, Jesus obeyed the will of the Father all the way to the cross and laid down his life. Obedience of Jesus is what saved our humanity. In the same way, Noah's obedience saved himself and his family, thereby saving the human race.